Good morning, everyone. Francois here from the Microb Lego Build channel. Day 2.5 actually of the Aetherwings build. We ran into a little bit of a snag when we built the first rim. We discovered that some of the small bolts and nuts were not threading in, so we had to do a little bit of remedial work to get that working. That being said, we now have all of the pieces that we need working. We will be working on completing this section with this video, and essentially we'll be making the mate to this wheel. As they say, it was a tiny bit held up by some of the nuts not quite threading in, but we did manage to get them all to work. So with that, we shall continue. BPM, yes. G25, yes. Alrighty, so with that, let's continue on. We'll be adding these little fine axles to the rest of this piece. Now, I have to tell you, this is pretty tight work. It's have to work out a little knack as to how to get these guys lined up correctly, and I tend, for whatever reason, to put the screws in backwards. I have no idea why, but it is sort of in my nature. No matter what I do, I seem to do it backwards. But eventually I get it right. Pop that in here like so. And again, it's pretty fine work. And if you got big sausage fingers, it tends to be a tad challenging, but not impossible. Astonishingly enough, I have managed to put it in upside down and backwards. It's a bit of an art form. So with that, we just get this tiny little nut going. And as I say, it's a bit, tiny bit challenging, but it's not impossible. And the key, of course, is to not cross thread the nuts, because it's eminently possible, because it is very fine. And as I see, I had to have, you can't really see, but I've had to mate these two guys together to ensure that I had one that would fit. Now let's see, this one here was cross-threaded. It will come off. I just took a little bit of persuasion to get it to work. And again, I have been in contact with Microb. They are sending me another set. However, I was able to resolve the issue on my own. It's just so very challenging to get everything to work at the same time. And you see, once you get it started, it's not that hard, but you really, really have to have patience, because these are very small parts. And like I say, if you have big fingers, it just makes it a little bit more challenging. But again, patience. Patience, patience, patience is the key. And with patience, you have no trouble getting these pieces to fit. And you kind of develop a knack and a feel for it. And again, it does become easier as you carry on. Now I'm just holding, these will not end up obviously in this position going forward, but in the short term it just keeps them out of the way. And this makes it a little easier to get everything apart and then back together again. Like I say, patience, take your time, don't get frustrated, walk away if you have to, but eventually you will have all of these guys installed. And like I say, it sometimes seems like it's going to be impossible, and then again, you have to make sure you orient your parts correctly. Now, I have a history of putting parts in backwards and upside down. It just is the way things happen sometimes. There we go. Get this guy started. And it's hard to describe the technique I use, but it's a little bit of letting your fingers do the work and you kind of get a sense or a feel of, is it screwing in correctly, is it threading correctly, is it not, do you have the pieces in correctly? Which is one of the most important things, is to make sure that you have everything oriented the right way. I mean, as I say, I'm notorious for having things in the wrong orientation, which is why I stress it so much in these videos, that you have to be very careful to get everything lined up just in the right direction. And then, as I say, I just sort of hold on to the nut with my thumbnail. It does work. 2 more of these, and then we'll be working on the outer ring. And again, it's just a matter of being patient, taking your time. As I say, it is a tiny bit frustrating, but it's part of the allure, if I could say allure, of these projects is that the results are so amazing. But again, using these very small parts, as you see, you have hold it with your thumb, and there's no real issue. But getting the right tools is also really, really, really important now. Again, this is a little Craftsman set, available at most hardware stores. I picked this one up at Rona, but I'm sure you can find them anywhere, or in fact any jeweler's type would work a treat. As I say, I found this set to be very good. The pliers that they supply are actually quite good. I wouldn't say amazingly the fact that they're good, but it's very high quality. They work very well. The little wrench kit is pretty good. The only thing that I found is the Phillips screwdriver they gave. I mean, it is functional, but it is a tiny bit cheesy. Now, there we go. All right, so now we have the inner hub completed. We have to loosen, so we have to actually loosen a bit, because when they go onto the rim, they're going to have, they're going to be at an angle. So you just have to kind of leave them loose on the axle side, and then once you have, where do I need any of these bad boys? Once you have these guys installed, I'll put them in there for now, and I'll put them back when I'm done. So LS3, yeah, that's the screws. G25s is that is that. G25 is these guys. All right, so I just gotta keep everything organized. It'll just help you down the road quite a bit. So that's the G's. This is the T25 is the spoke. 25 is the spoke, so we put the spokes back. With the rest of the T's, and now we can continue on with this portion of the build. So I'm just going to take this guy, put him in this one, and with any luck, this will just thread on. And voila. Yikes. It is, be very careful that you don't break things. All right, so let's do that again. As I said before in my first Maycroft build video, these builds are not for the faint of heart. You could easily get discouraged, but they are meant to be enjoyable. For me, it's a bit of a zen as it starts. I mean, as you start, you can see it just gets easier and easier for the parts to go. at the end of the day, you will end up with something pretty neat. Again, it's just a tiny bit. Challenging, but you will develop a certain knack, and it will become so much easier as you move along. And it's good to be ambidextrous. You can see when you have a bit more space to work with, it tends to go somewhat faster. Again, bearing in mind it's not a race, it's for your enjoyment, satisfaction of a job well done. And there was a subset of these screws and heads that will not go in because they believe, oh, it's cross-threaded, that's no wonder that's not going to go in. So we will be very careful. These are very fine threads. And you have to be very careful that you don't cross-thread them. And when you're satisfied that you have it straight in, then you can just drive it through. It just, again, there was, Microb is aware of, there's a couple of issues with some of these, and they are going to be sending me new ones. However, it isn't the end of the world. You can do your own remedial repairs and continue the build. Hello. All right. All right, so with that, we'll just go around. Tighten everything down. Oops. It's a bit challenging, but I don't think they're going to go anywhere, to be perfectly honest with you. Does that look centered? All right, so we now have our two wheels. And this looks like a good place to stop for now. View of the back side, view of the front side. With that, we're going to cut you guys loose. We'll catch you on the next video. I'll include a picture of step number 2 and step number 1, which is just astonishing. Anyway, you guys have a great day. We'll talk to you on the next video. Thanks for watching.